Welcome to Hand Forged, the podcast where real tradespeople share their real stories. Here at Hand Forged, we're dedicated to bringing attention to the trades, fostering a community of blue-collar professionals, and offering support through shared experiences and insights. Each episode will dive deep into journeys, challenges, and successes of our guests. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out in the trades, you'll find valuable tips, inspiring stories, and practical advice to help you navigate and thrive in your career. So grab your tools and get ready to be inspired. This is Hand Forged. All right, what's up, everybody? We are here for episode number 5. We brought on Leon Garrett with Kenco Plumbing out of New Hampshire. We're going to talk a little bit about Leon's, kind of journey, what he's doing now, current projects, his business, kind of how he got into this. Should be fun. We had a good little meeting this morning before the podcast, which we've learned is key at this point to do the pre-podcast planning. But yeah, we had a great meeting, talked about a lot of stuff. So bringing them on now, going to start this. So what's up, man?
Not much, man. Thank you for having me. This is really cool.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Yeah.
No problem. Yeah, it should be fun. You'd be surprised, like we said, how fast we go through this. We'll start talking, and then all of a sudden an hour goes by, and we're done.
All right, cool.
But yeah, man, it should be fun. So why don't you kind of tell everybody who you are and what you do, and let's talk about some current projects you have going on.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, obviously, my name's Leon. Proud owner of Kenco Plumbing and Gas. We also, I don't know where we sit with this right now, but we're a proud sponsor of Bring Back the Trades. I'm not sure if you've heard of that.
Oh, yeah. Somebody else actually reached out to me about that.
Yeah, no, it's a good organization. They pretty much just fundraise money to help get, I don't know if it's specifically the younger generation, but it's just to bring, newer guys into the trade and women too. Yeah. And they do fundraising. It's a nonprofit organization where they raise this money and, get the younger generation into, the trades.
At Seacoast Cabinet, Rowley, Mass., we offer a full range of services from design to installation, tailored to residential and commercial applications. We carry 3 lines of American-made cabinetry to fit any budget, ensuring that you get the best quality and value. For more information or a free quote and design, head to seacoastcabinetne.com.
How do they do that?
So they take, I'm not sure with what exactly they do for fundraising, but they do have events that happen, from time to time. Throughout the year, like they did one in I think last September that I went to, and I could be wrong. My time frame's so fucked up, but they did one in September at Ben's Auto Body in Portsmouth, and I attended that one. And they just set up vendor tents and stuff, and then typically with what happens, they'll be younger guys where their parents bring them around just to go around and start, seeing the other trades, and we'll do demonstrations and stuff. And I'll share a little bit about how I got into the trade, how it's impacted my life and everything, because, I feel a lot, because when I got into it, it was told to me, or I was under this impression that it was just playing with shit, or, just the typical the stereotypical thing. And it was, it wasn't, I'm just that special type of idiot where I have an opinion on something before even experiencing it, and that's exactly what happened with me, getting into the trade. So, they scholarship people to get into, trade schools.
That's sick. Do you have a contact over there you can put me in touch with?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's Steve Turner over in Rye.
Oh, that's right. So it's Steve Turner. Somebody had sent me his info not too long ago. I'd love to get involved with that somehow. And I think that, with the podcast and with the cabinet company, I'd love to be involved and sponsor or however I could help with that. I think that those types of organizations are so huge, man. Obviously I've shared my story quite a bit, and I found the trades at a young age, and I was kind of forced into it, right? It was either get a job or I was going to jail. Right. And, I'm so glad that I did, and I think that giving back to that opportunity that was given to me is one of my goals in life. It's one of my purposes, is why I'm here, so organization that's doing stuff like that would be huge for me, man. I'd love to get involved and see how I could help.
Yeah, because he's not, Steve, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but just based off with what I've talked with him about, he's a big advocate for somebody that, that I feel there's kind of a stigma of being kind of that bad kid in school or having a rough upbringing. And he's not scared to talk about that, because that's with what, he comes from, and, as, obviously me and you too. So, I definitely think it's great and something to, get involved in. I'll send him your number and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about your business a little bit, man, like kind of what you do, maybe some current projects that you have going on.
Yeah.
What's your day-to-day look like?
So it's a plumbing service, and right now it's just me, and an apprentice. His name's Aiden. He's 18 years old. He pretty much is like, forming him into my right hand, and that's like, keeping van organized and everything. And then I have my wife that, helps with the scheduling and the billing and everything, because I'm sure it's like it got like crazy last year with it just kind of being me. And like as things kind of ramp up and pick up, it's like, people get really unsatisfied with not being able to be, fully there to like answer the phone and do scheduling and things like that. So she was working part-time she worked at like an optometrist or whatever, kind of like as an assistant. So, I didn't know where it was going to go, because we only started this thing like last January, and it's done well. And, obviously there's room for improvements and stuff, but it got to the point where, she can be, employed by the business too and everything. And we pretty much do, I come from like the background of like, commercial, new construction type of things like that. So I took a lot of pride during my apprenticeship, and I tried track, because this was the problem when I started, is that, I wanted to continue doing that and finding like a builder or a contractor. In the area, I'm sure they're out there, but, getting in with somebody, a lot of these established companies, they already have subcontractors that they've been working with probably 10, 20, 30 years. And, there's just no room for anyone new, and all these other guys that are just starting. There's a reason why I feel like they're, in the older generation, and they really haven't been able to, establish themselves. And it turns into like trying to chase money and things like that. We have one like light commercial job going on in Portsmouth right now, which it's motorbikes in Portsmouth. But from that experience with just, contractors being owed money and everything, that we pretty much just through word of mouth and like Google and stuff, we take, service calls, whether it be like water heaters, doing hydronic, boilers, heating systems, to like just faucet swap outs, outside silcocks. We pretty much, I don't want to say we do everything, but really that's with what we got going on right now, and that's with what we're targeting.
Yeah, so right now you're just kind of throwing that big net out there, trying to catch as much work as you can.
Exactly.
While trying to kind of build your network and kind of get in with some builders and some contractors, and,
Sure.
Because, and for people that don't know, in the trades, when you're a niche guy, if you're an electrician or you're a plumber, for these guys, it's so much easier to work for a contractor or work for a builder, because it's steady work that's coming in. The hardest part about working for yourself sometimes is like, you don't know what's coming in next week. So like, if you're working 9 to 5, you're punching a clock in and out every day, you don't have to worry about it. You know that like the work is there, you're going to punch in, you're going to get paid for your time. But when you first start out in a company, you don't know where that next job is going to come from. And I know that like when I started my woodworking business, one of the first contracts that I got that was like repetitive was with Master Brand Cabinets, which is the largest cabinet manufacturer in North America. They're one of the largest in the world. And I got a contract with them. I was one of 2 guys in the Northeast that was vetted by the company to go out and do service work for them. And all the service work that I did was covered under their warranty. And I knew that I had those jobs coming in. Like I'd get like, 2 a week, sometimes 1 a week, but I always knew that I had those. And they would pay for me my travel. They would pay for my time on site. They would pay for all the materials. If I had to travel somewhere far, they'd pay to put me up in a hotel. And it was cool because it was like at least something that I knew I had coming in every week while I was on that grind to try and bring in more work and more work and more work. So like for you guys in, in plumbing, electrical, and the kind of niche trades, to get in with a builder or a couple of builders and be on their Rolodex, so that when they have projects coming up, they're calling you, and then you start getting that repeat business. Like that's how we grow our companies. That's the way that it works. So right now I feel like large net, trying to kind of catch as much as you can, and then kind of narrow it down, build a network, and kind of get some builders under your wing.
Yeah, exactly. Because every time, because it all started with cold calling. Like I said, I was like super just to find the work. I mean, I didn't really take on like the side work, because I hear like a lot of people, as like, especially specifically in, plumbing, that they'll be like, yeah, I was taking on side work and it kind of just overtook things. And that's when I decided to go off on my own. I was always nervous of just like flooding someone's house or something. I didn't have the proper insurance and everything. And I, just from certain people that I talked to, they're like, you should just wait and hold off. I did take things sometimes if like I knew them personally, but for the most part, I wasn't like out there trying to like grind and hustle and get like that extra side work. And maybe it would have helped me a little bit, but a lot of it is because, like I was saying, when I started Kenco, when I, formed the LLC, and when I officially kind of went off like on my own, technically, it was a lot of cold calling, and that's just, going on Google and typing in builder, contractor near me, and doing like emails. I now we got like ChatGPT. I know that this sounds corny because it kind of takes like the authenticity out of it, but
it's a resource, man.
It's a resource, exactly. So I'd type in and be like, just type in something similar. It's like, my name's Leon. I own Kenco Plumbing and Gas. We're trying to reach out, offering our plumbing services and new construction or whatever. And just like, when I reached out to a lot of people like that, and it did work.
Yeah.
And but it was like, and I was like super happy about that. But as time goes on, like on the third job, it's like I feel like I'm getting paid from just the money thing got weird. Like I could get a deposit on one job before I start, and then like he'd send me another place, and it just, And it was like kind of like that for like 3 different times. And like I said, like the established companies in our area, it was like, they kind of wanted me to like, I don't know, almost like prove myself a little bit, because they're like, how many guys do you have? And at the time it was like, I couldn't like lie about it, but
it's just me.
Yeah, it's just me.
Me and my truck.
Exactly. So,
don't judge me, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was kind of like, fuck you. It's like, 'cause I know I would be able to get in there, and, I mean, it's for me. And I know that, for some people it might be like, depending on with what you did during what your experience is.
Yeah.
I know that, I was, maybe capable of going in and, plumbing a whole house or whatever. But, obviously they were skeptical. Plus I like have this thing where I look like I'm 16 years old.
Right.
But really I'm 29. So when I tell them that, they almost, like I had one customer not that long ago. We went, what did we do? I got brought in to like install a gas line in his house or something for a stove. And, after a little bit, like he was like, after I left, I guess his wife was like, is he really like who he says he is? She thought I was like 16. So when I was like telling him I have children and stuff, she thought I was like lying to him almost. Like Jesus. I was like, yeah. And they like looked me up and found me and saw that I had a family. And then he reached back out. He's like, holy shit, man. He's like, you were telling the truth. I'm like, dude, what the fuck does that mean? Yeah, right. That'd be super weird if I just like made up like this.
Yeah, right.
This,
I got a wife and a dog.
Yeah,
just
right.
Really just living
Like,
in a single bedroom apartment by yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Some kind of creep dancing around in women's underwear or something.
Yeah,
Tyler's laughing again.
That sounded like a dog bark.
That's what happened last time too. If you heard in the last episode, Tyler broke out laughing. It sounded like a little dog yelping. Man. That's something. That's a thing to get over. I know that when I started in furniture, I was 15, right? And it took me a little while to kind of get my shit together, but I got really good at what I did. And I was like, maybe 18, 19, 20 years old. And I was going into these houses and I was working on furniture that was worth more than I was making in a year, right? And these people, because I was so young and, of course I looked the part, I still sagged my pants and I was still, still gangster,
Yeah, for sure.
The gangster furniture guy. And, people had a hard time taking me serious because I was so young, but I was really good at what I did. And what I learned then was that that's where product knowledge comes into place. It came into place for me. Because what I would do is I started researching all these different finishing techniques, different manufacturing techniques, the way that these companies are building, the way that they're finishing, the way that they're applying their veneers, all these different things, so that when I went into the house and they were skeptical of me working on their stuff, I would just bring all of this knowledge to the table, and that made people more comfortable with me working on their projects. And that's just kind of the way that I ended up doing it. I fell into it by accident. Like I just started learning about this stuff because I didn't want to look like an idiot, but it ended up turning into like my sales pitch and how I made people more comfortable with what I was doing. But it's hard when you're young in the trades, man. People definitely don't take you serious.
No.
I never had anybody call me a liar, but
Yeah, right. Well, it's kind of like they're being kind of friendly,
Yeah.
and I ended up building like a good relationship with that person too.
Yeah.
So
you still trying to build up your clientele as far as builders and contractors in Chico?
yeah, we're still weeding out people,
Yeah.
because that's another thing too, which I completely get with people being skeptical, because there's like so many shitbags out there that,
sure.
aren't really, they don't hold true to their word. They say that they're going to do something, or, they have trouble showing up and doing with what they're going to say. So,
Yeah.
and it gives us, bad names,
Yeah.
especially when you're new trying to start out,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's like, yeah,
You got to establish trust with somebody that
Sure.
like they have no reason to not trust you, but they don't, like, right off the bat.
Yeah.
And I feel like it happens a lot with the trades. People just have either been fucked over before, or they've heard bad stories about contractors screwing people over, and they just think that everybody's out to get them.
Right.
Yeah, it's a problem. It happens.
Yeah, we just took on a new one like last month, and there were so many fucking red flags, dude. And we went and did the job, and then we ended up having to part ways. But we're still having that issue where we're just trying to fill. I mean, we're busy, but it's like it's just good, like, for security reasons. It's like it's good to have like certain accounts, and doing like those cold calls that definitely have helped too.
Yeah.
Because like there was a restaurant right down the street from us that I saw Connexes and everything outside, so I just kind of showed up and said, my name's Leon, this is what I do, I'm right down the street, and they're actually like one of our bigger, accounts right now that, we kind of make them priority, because, they just want the fucking shit done, and we go there and get it done, and it gets done right, and
And if you're local, then they can hold you accountable. Like, you're up the street, you're a townie.
Yeah,
I think some people are comfortable with that. But we do the same thing, man, as far as sales sometimes. When I first started Seacoast Cabinet, we used to go on town websites, and on the town website, you can pull up all active building permits. And on the building permit, you have address of the house or project happening. You have contractor information. You have homeowner information. You can get all the information. So we used to go to the town websites, pull all the building permits, and then either show up to job sites or just start making cold calls. But showing up to job sites, man, and shaking hands with the contractors has always been the most successful way of doing sales for us. If I see a frame going up, I still do it to this day. Me and Tyler have been doing some outside sales. I'll drive by a house that's being framed. I pull over, bring up Google Maps, I pin it, and then with the pin on Google, it tells you kind of like what rough address you're at.
Yeah.
Screenshot it. And then if there's a contractor sign or something like that, I take a picture of that, and I take a picture of the frame. And, we have an ongoing list of like jobs that like are being framed. When we see a frame going up, like, that's the perfect time to get involved as far as the kitchen goes. So, reach out to those people, or just show up to the job site while they're there and just, shake hands and smiles and, hey, this is what we do. This is what we offer. I'm sure you already have somebody doing the kitchen, but we'd love to quote it for you anyways.
For sure.
And people love that, man, especially the blue collar guys. Cause I can tell you right now that cold emails and cold phone calls that come through my phone on a regular fucking basis, I don't pay attention to them. I have too much stuff going on. And I have a whole network of people where if I need something, like, I can reach out to people that I know personally. So I don't even pay attention to any of that stuff anymore.
Door down,
right. But if somebody shows up and is like, hey, this is what we do. Like, if I had a cabinet installer, the cabinet installer that we're using now, Tim Davis, he reached out to me on social media. And at the time I was looking for an installer. So like, we're good. And then we set up a 1-to-1. Me and him had a meeting. We went out and had dinner and shot the shit, got to know each other. And, now we use him for all of our installs. So, it's definitely a way to do it when you're first starting to build that the sales base.
For sure.
But I think that, it all boils down to networking, man, and the people that you know and the people that you meet, and meeting new contractors and trying to like build those relationships. And, because at the end of the day, regardless of how young you are or how long or short you've been in the trade, if you can build a relationship with somebody and that person trusts who you are personally, they want to do business with you. So like, I feel like, building those relationships is so damn important. And you were talking about like going to those networking events or like the expos and stuff. We were talking about JLC. Like, I feel like those places are awesome for trying to meet new contractors and builders. Because like, brings all these builders together. Like, you have a fucking whole pool of contractors that you can get in with. And I can guarantee you that there's other contractors out there that are probably, maybe newer, or maybe have a fucking plumber that retired out that are looking for plumbers,
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how did you get into this, man? How did you get into the trades? How long were you like an apprentice, or how long did you work for somebody before you jumped out? And where did you start?
So how it happened was I was working a dead end job, and I mean it could have like gone like somewhere, but I just wasn't it was like a prefabrication thing where they made like signs and stuff, which it was cool. Like the shop was cool and everything. I think just the company itself, it was just like it was a fucking sweatshop, and they didn't give a fuck about you. So it was more of like a get well job. They have this place in Newington that I worked for like a little bit, where they like manufacture like fiber optic cable or whatever. It was through a temp agency. And, I worked there. I did with what I had to do because it was like long hours. So, every paycheck was like $700. And at that time, in the position that I was in, I didn't have I didn't really fucking have anything. So it was like, that was good. That was a good opportunity to, just kind of, do with what I had to do. And then I started at the sweatshop making like $300 a week and paid like $10 an hour. And that's just kind of with what I had to do. I, took the bus to work every day. And I taught myself how to like run a CNC. I'm not like, I just took the opportunity that was in front of me, ran with it. And, there was, I'm in, 12-step recovery too. And I had already had like an experience with, the 12 steps. And it still is today, but, like the biggest thing was just like, making myself available, being a service to, people new coming in, just getting sober. And I met this kid, Zach, at, in the like culture, like the culture of like being sober or whatever. If you do 12 steps.
Yeah, the recovery world.
Yeah, the recovery world. There's things called the Alcathon where they just have like speakers, go back to back to back to back to back. And, this just goes to show that, because like if you're, especially, I don't know, I just feel like this goes for just anything. It was just inconveniencing yourself just to go help somebody. And I'm not saying like, oh, look at me, look at with what I did, because it ended up, in turn, like completely changing my life without me even knowing it at the time. Is that I got like the shitty 3 a.m. spot that no one fucking wanted on Thanksgiving. And I went there and I spoke, shared my story. And then there was this kid, Zach, where, and here's another thing too, going to like those rehabs and stuff. Like you hear all the time of people just being like, oh, I'm going to do this when I get out and I'm going to do that. And it's like, dude, no, you're not. You know what I mean? So he, raised his hand, shared that he was going to, get his son back in his life, that he was going to go get his car, that, he was going to, actually do the deal after he got out. And he ended up getting kicked out of that rehab, and he went to a sober living in Dover. And he asked me to be, a sponsor, and he was working for an engineering firm out of Nashua, New Hampshire, that they were putting up a building actually right out, behind the studio apartment that I was staying at. It was like office space, daycare center, and then just apartments. And he's like, you should come here and, start like plumbing. And I was like, I was kind of like, I wasn't interested because of like how I said earlier, like just a stereotype of kind of with what a plumber is, which is just like playing in shit or whatever.
Right. I don't want to fix clogged drains all day and all that shit. Yeah.
Exactly, dude. That's what. And if that's what it was, I would have fucking walked away and said, "Fuck this."
Yeah. Yeah.
Even
for
though,
sure.
even though that's kind of the service that we provide now, because from like a business standpoint, it's like it is what it is. So.
Yeah. And that work is always there, and like you can get it. It's good filler stuff. Like want to make a couple bucks on the day, you go do that.
Yeah, exactly. But, obviously this was new construction, so I go there and I see, like, this sounds like materialistic, but I saw, like, the vehicles that these guys were driving, the tools that, like, the actual work that they were putting in and doing. It completely shifted my whole, like, I had, like, that paradigm shift of, like, it changed my whole thought of with what I thought I knew about plumbing and the trades and with what it was, and that's with what, from that day, like, literally from that moment that I stepped on that job site as, like, a helper that, had, like, I don't know, maybe I didn't have fucking anything in that. It motivated me. And I showed up every single day. I worked, and, getting into like the apprenticeship program and everything, it's so easy for somebody new that's coming in. It's so easy to, be prosperous and do well and succeed in this. Is all you have to do is show up. And if you got like, I don't know, half of I don't want to be like insulting or anything, but like half of a brain that you are like kind of self-aware with what's going on and you can retain knowledge. I mean, you're going to go to school with maybe like 10 other guys if you do the apprenticeship program. And I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody, but I mean, it's so fucking easy to outwork these other apprentices if you're willing to do the overtime, if you're willing to surround yourself by the right people, kind of be like that sponge and absorb everything that they know and apply it. You might do things a little bit differently,
Right.
but if you can do that, you're going to separate yourself from the rest of the crowd of the apprentice that's late to work every day, that doesn't clean up after himself. He puts in bad work. He just doesn't listen. I mean, all the characteristics of, with what not to do. There's so much of that.
Right.
It's so easy to separate yourself from that, and it's going to be noticed. And
Yeah, and I feel like with that stuff, it doesn't take any skill, doesn't take any experience, it doesn't take any wisdom.
No.
All you have to do is what's right? Like learn from the person that's teaching you, take pride in the work that you're putting out, even if it's not that good. When you first start off as a plumber, like you're not putting out this immaculate work and you might screw some stuff up, but like take pride in that, learn from that, correct your mistakes, and just keep moving forward.
Exactly.
A lot of people kind of go into it in those situations where they're just think they know everything, or think it doesn't matter, don't really care. And you're right, man. It's easy to stand out from those people, and the sad part is there's more people like that than there are like you.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So that's what I try to tell everybody new, because I have like a lot of people ask me, is like, oh, I'm like new coming into this. And that's exactly what I tell anybody that's just like looking to get into it. And it's like, you got to kind of get with the right company. Like this was like perfect opportunity for me. It was a commercial, plumbing company where they had like an HVAC side and plumbing. They tried to get me to do HVAC. I fucking don't like that shit. So we did all, it was all plumbing. Yep. And after that project in Dover, that's where I met you at the,
Yep.
Dover Housing Authority. There was like a master plumber on site, and this is where that job specifically kind of changed everything for me, because it was like, you saw it was cookie cutter. Every building was the same, times 148, 150, however many units there were.
Yeah.
And that gave me like just that experience that I needed for 2 years on that job, where I was able to, know how to do like a material takeoff, how to like estimate how long these things should be doing, kind of like managing other plumbers as an apprentice, which was crazy, but I was there since the beginning, so I knew exactly how the job should go.
Yep.
And I was kind of put in that position, and they gave me, I had to go and like do my driving test. My second time driving, I got my driver's license, and I learned how to drive in like this big F-350, which is crazy. I was like driving in the fucking like porta potties and in Whittier Falls and everything. And they kind of just let me, but I didn't take advantage of it. At times I did. Like there was, shit I shouldn't have done while working there. But for the most part, it was like, that paved the way of like just my whole career path of, being a plumber. And I knew since the beginning, after seeing with what was to offer with, the licensing and everything, I knew that I wanted to start a plumbing service at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, that project was crazy.
Yeah, it
so were you there when I cut the painter's hoses?
No, dude.
Oh man, it was a nightmare. So we did a job. It was like it was bad. So it was like 150 units, and then we did another like 175. So like we did a ton of kitchens there, and we would go in, and it was Section 8 housing. So it'd be like a building that I would have like 3 or 4 units in it, and our job was to get 4 units done in a day. So we would do 4 kitchens in a day, and we would get there early. We would set up in one unit, and then we would go unit to unit, and then install, and then we had our apprentice that would come in behind us to do like hardware, put on toe kick, all the kind of odds and ends, stupid little stuff.
Line,
yeah, it was great, and like we streamlined the thing. So we would go out and hammer out 4 kitchens a day, long days, but like we'd get them all done. But that was such a good project to train an apprentice. Because at the time, I was working with the next charter school out of Derry, and they have this program through their charter school where their seniors have to work 400 hours in a field that they want to go into. Because like a lot of these kids, college isn't really something that they're interested in. So the school sets it up for these kids where like they get to go out and like get real world experience. So at the time, I had one of the kids from the charter school putting in his 400 hours, and I had an apprentice installer. But as far as training those guys goes, it was so easy in that project because like this is the process over and over and over and over and over. We were there for a year and a half anyways, because we would go out and do like 4 kitchens in a week. We do them one day, but every week we had 4 kitchens to do.
Right.
Sometimes we had 8, sometimes we had 12. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that project was, it was a good learning curve. It was when we first started doing kitchen installs, so it was like a great project. We didn't make a lot of money on it, but it was like production. As long as we get 4 done, then we were making all right money.
Yep.
But man, it was such a shit show because we're on top of everybody.
Yeah.
And there was one time. So like, what we would do is we would set up our shop in like one of the middle units, chop saw, table saw, all our tools, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And we would start on one end of the building and work our way through. And we had to make our cuts or anything like that. We would go back to that middle unit, make our cuts, go back. And that way we weren't like dragging saws around and all that stuff.
Of course, yeah.
So we were set up in one unit, and the painter, we were always on top of the painters and the flooring guys. Like, I got into it with the flooring guy, I got into it with painters, like I got into it with everybody.
Places, dude, that was a zoo.
Yeah, and I was a little bit more of a
yeah.
hothead back then, so it wasn't as pretty.
Yeah.
And there was one day we were set up in the unit, and the painter came in. He's like, "Hey, I got to paint the unit you're set up in." And I'm like, "All right, do you want us to move our stuff out?" And he said, No, you can keep it in there, just cover it in plastic. I said, "All right, well, we're going to cover it in plastic. Just when you come back in, make sure everything's covered." He does his thing. I go back in, and there's fucking overspray all over one of my toolboxes, all over my table saw, like all over the place.
Yeah.
So I go to the guy, and I'm like, "Hey, listen, man, like, you got overspray on my stuff. Do you mind just cleaning the stuff off?" I was nice about it.
Of course, yeah.
And the guy's like, "No, fuck you. You should have moved your shit out."
Ooh.
And I was like,
Oof.
"Bro, are you fucking serious right now?"
Dude.
And he was like, "Yeah." He's like, I told you to move your stuff. I said, "I asked you if you wanted us to move our stuff. You said no." And so he got into it with me, and I said, and he's like, "You know what? I don't give a shit about your stuff." I'm like, "Oh, you don't care about my stuff?" Grab both of his hoses, pull my knife out, cut both of his fucking hose, do paint went everywhere.
Yeah.
He started screaming. He took off running, and they like got the general contractor. The contractor of the job, his name was Frank.
His name was Frank. Yeah.
Dude, he was a badass. He was
is,
like from Montana.
I
Some shit. I
still
love
talk
that.
to him.
Do
Yeah,
you?
yeah, I do.
Next
yeah.
time you talk to him, tell him I said
I
that.
will.
So, of course, 10 minutes later, I get a call from Frank. He's like, "I heard you're starting shit over there, unit whatever." I'm like, "Dude, I didn't start shit, but I'm sure as hell the guy that's going to end this shit." Right. And he's like, "Do I have to come over?" I'm like, "No, everything's good now. Your painter ran off. He's going to need a couple new hoses." But yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, they were the worst, man. It was funny listening to Frank, fucking reprimand them every fucking day.
Yeah.
Because they'd go around the housing authority just like leaving paint trails behind them. They're some of the stupidest fucking people, dude.
I caught one of them in my toolbox,
Ugh.
going through my shit. I ended up tossing them out the back door. And then again, I got a call from Frank, like, "Hey, what's going on?" And then the owner from the painting company came in the next day and was like, "Hey, listen, man, I know that you're having issues with my guys. This is what we're going to do to fix it." And then we never saw the painters again.
Oh, great.
So they lined up their schedule better around us, you know. So, but we were the first ones on the job site, last ones to leave when we were there. Like, we got shit done.
Yep.
Like, nobody else is going in and hanging 4 units a day. So they wanted us there, but they were just stacking trades on top of trades. It was a fucking nightmare. We go into units to like install a kitchen, and like the rough plumbing hadn't even been done yet. And it's like,
exactly.
Frank, what are we even doing here? Like,
yeah.
I'll get them in right now. And then they'd have to run over from another unit to like get the drain and shit.
all like that.
Dude, it was such a nightmare.
For 2 years fucking straight, dude.
I mean, it was a good project, learning curve, but man, the stress that job put on me.
And
I
the
used
people that live there too.
Yeah, oh my God, dude.
Dude.
That was bad. We would literally every night, if we left our tools in there, if we had to do multiple units, we'd literally put cardboard in the windows, and like I'd put like blocks like screwed into the floor so that like people couldn't come in the door. I was so afraid of losing my shit. But we saw a couple fights. We saw a couple young kids fighting out back, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome."
Yeah. Dude, oh man, it was crazy. And another thing, this is kind of like a funny story because like I thought this was going to be like this is just funny because it's like I walk into this thing and it's going to be like the most professional thing. That's not really how my fucking apprenticeship was. It was actually kind of abnormal. And I remember like one of the lead plumbers, I go there, he's like trying to like, and if you try soldering something when it's wet, it's not going to stick. And he's like all fucking like drunk, and that's another thing too. Like the guys I worked with, they were all fucked up all day. And, which I think it's like entertainment value. I mean, it's like it's fucking funny. But yeah, he's like trying to solder like a wet ball out, like then he's like pissed in like a Powerade bottle. He drank it and is like throwing up all over the place. I'm like, dude, this is where I want to be. Yeah, dude, crazy.
Yeah, that's not a good introduction to the trades, right there.
Yeah, no, but for me, I was like, fuck yeah, dude, that's so sick to see. That's so funny, dude.
That's funny.
I go home and tell my wife about it. She's like, what?
All right, man. So yeah, we talked a little bit about your journey and stuff. As far as your recovery goes, man, like I feel like that's something that we should touch on. And I did talk to you and got your permission earlier to kind of talk about it.
Of course, yeah.
I've been around addicts and alcoholics my whole life. I'm not an addict or an alcoholic, but I've been around it. I've seen people overdose. I've watched people die. My whole crew growing up, family, it just has been a part of my life for so long. Like a lot of kids went to soccer games on Saturdays. I was going to treatment centers to visit people,
Right.
And I think that the trades are a place, for the misfits, right? For the black sheep of the families. And not saying that's a bad thing because I'm one of those people too.
Yep.
But, I think that the trades are a good place for that. But there's a lot of stress involved. There's a lot of mayhem. There's obviously, like you're just talking about
Right,
Dover,
yeah.
like that bullshit. How has your recovery journey been in the trades?
So, yeah, I mean, being involved with people like that, like it's almost like, it all depends really who you're around, because like a lot of people took it as like, oh, he thinks he's better than us because he doesn't want to come and drink, like on lunch or whatever. But it's just people, they just don't understand, so, because of honestly, I'd rather die than, go back and, relive everything that I had to relive if I didn't. Yeah, I mean, I would just, that's how it would be, because it was like suffering. It like the drug stopped working at a certain point. I got sober when I was 21, and I tried getting sober plenty of times before that. Even at, 14, 15, I was getting sent away to they sent me up to almost in Canada. I'm not sure if you heard about Eckerd. Yeah, I went to
I've
Eckerd.
been up there a few times. I didn't go. I used to go up to visit. My brother was up there.
Yeah, right.
I didn't know you went to Eckerd, dude.
Yeah, I went to Eckerd,
So
yeah.
what's wicked funny is like I'm an avid hiker, right? Like I do a lot in the woods. The woods are my place. Like that's where I recharge. That's where I get away. I do a lot of hiking. I go up north quite a bit, and I am really good in the woods. I know how to trap. I know how to build shelter. Like I could survive out there. I could do pretty good at surviving out there, anyways. But I learned a lot of that stuff from these Tom Brown survivalist books. And the Tom Brown survivalist books, I used to steal from my brother who went to Eckerd. And Eckerd used to hand out these Tom Brown survivalist books. And I used to, when he'd come home on his furloughs, I used to steal his books. And me and my buddies would go out in the woods and like build forts and shit,
Yeah.
So like I learned a lot of that shit because of Eckerd. But I used to go up on like family weekends and all that type of stuff. And like, been up there, man. My brother tried running once.
Yeah, dude. I've seen some fucking. It's the same thing. I've seen crazy shit there
so
too.
People don't know about Eckerd. Like this place is like in the middle of the woods. It's in the middle of nowhere, like 6 miles off the Canadian border. They have these little huts and these like little outhouses, and troubled kids that are getting in trouble go up there. And there's no locked doors. There's no fences. There's no. They're like, you want to run? Go ahead, have at it. And my brother took off one night. It was like a couple weeks after he'd been there. He took off and made it like 10 minutes into the woods in the middle of the night, pitch black. Ended up climbing a tree, dude. And like, there was fucking wolves and shit, like fucking running around. Like he was freaking out. They found him the next morning, like literally sleeping up in a tree, and they took his shoes. That's how they like stopped him. Yeah. His punishment was they would take his shoes.
Dude, that's crazy. Yeah, I've seen some kids like, because they go on like the furlough or the homestays, and they'll sneak back like tobacco.
Yeah.
There's like one kid like trying to smoke freaking like chewed tobacco or whatever, and he got caught, dude. And he's like trying to fight off like because they called them chiefs, like the counselors or whatever, like smacking them with fucking frying pans, trying to run away, dude. I was like, dude, this is crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome. My brother had a great experience there, though. I mean, not that it ever fucking got him right. He's still, in turmoil, but he had a lot of good experiences there. They went like down to Florida once, and they spent like 2 weeks fucking in canoes and shit, like floating down the fucking rivers and like setting up camps and doing all this other stuff. Like I thought that was pretty badass.
Yeah, I felt comfortable while I was there. Like I had to go like to some other like home before that. And this is just off of, truancy, because like I started doing like drinking and getting high with like friends when I was like 12, and it kind of like progressed to that point where like I was being truant from school. So that's how they had like a chins petition.
Yep.
I don't think that that's a thing anymore, but that's kind of how it started. I got put on juvenile probation, and that's why they sent me there. And I think it was a great program. I don't think it's open anymore, but
Yeah, well, I was on juvenile probation too. Same thing though. Same thing. 12, 13 years old, like going to school drunk in 5th grade.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, just being an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got popped for possession of a stolen firearm when I was 13, and I got put on juvenile probation. And I was on juvenile probation from the time I was 13 until I aged out.
Yeah.
Mr. Glenn Kershaw. I think he actually passed. From what I'm told, he had a drinking problem, but I almost feel a little bit like responsible for that. You know,
Right.
we put him through a lot of shit. So
that sucks.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, good old Glenn Kershaw. Yeah,
Fucking idiot.
dude, stupid shit. You know? So yeah, I guess as far as your recovery, how long have you been in recovery?
8 years.
Nice, hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. And you know my buddy Eric.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, he did a lot in this, especially in this area for recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, how do you? I mean, still tough now, like with the trades and like, I mean, sure, after 8 years, it's probably much easier than it was when you first started.
Yeah. So, I mean, I will say it is easier. I mean, things still happen to the point where like I feel like my back's up against the wall and I like emotionally I just get overwhelmed. But in those moments, that's where I've learned how to grow the most, because it's like, you know, my problems today are so much different than when I first, you know, got sober. When I first got sober, it was like it was hard for me to like sit and just like talk to anybody.
Yeah.
I didn't really know how to like do much of anything. Like I said, I'd never driven a car. Never really like had like any. I was just used to hanging around with like shitheads and like other drug addicts and stuff, you know, on the street. So that's kind of with what I was used to, you know. So like going and like just talking with like, you know, just like normal well-kept people was like, it was like completely foreign to me in the beginning. And, you know, I wouldn't say that it was like, just like my circumstance was a little bit tougher to get through it though, with the experience that I had, because I went out to Austin, Texas to a men's recovery center in 2016. That was the last time that I went to, and this was like it was perfect for me because the whole clinical thing, you know, it works for somebody. I'm not saying like shy away from different things. It's just like, you know, I feel like there's a power, you know, that's greater than us. And he understood me to the point of exactly what I needed, you know, the position that I needed to be in, because you know, getting arrested, getting sent, like ever since like the beginning of like Eckerd, you know, I right then and there, I told myself I really didn't want to do this anymore. Like just leaving that courthouse and seeing like my dad like drive away the other direction, like that like I like broke down in the back of the car, because I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
But that wasn't enough, dude. I fucking did it for
Yeah.
I did it over and over and over again until I ended up going to jail, overdosed a bunch of times. And I've been to like the clinical setting where they're like, I'm doing my phone intake and they're like, you're gonna fucking die, blah blah blah. I'm like, no shit, that's why I'm calling you, dude. And you know, through a series of events, you know, I got approached by somebody. You know, there's this guy, he just passed, you know, last year sometime, but he played a very, very big role in kind of how to where I got to where I am today, because I called one of my really close friends, Kevin, and he just was like, fucking, you're an idiot, dude. Like, you're figure it out on your own. I had a blood infection in my left leg. Everything I owned just fit in like a little backpack. I had like a cell phone charger, you know, holding my pants up. And I called Kevin, and he's like, you know what, you should call Dean. I called Dean. Dean went and sat with me in this hospital. The whole night, he sacrificed his whole night for me. He has, you know, wife and kids at home. Did that. Offered to put me up in a hotel. He reached out, I think, to this woman named Lauren. Lauren reached out to this guy named Mike Finnegan I didn't mean to say his last name. His name was Mike. But, you know, and Mike's mother was in, I think, in a partnership with this guy named Cole from Austin, Texas, that owned a men's recovery center. And he called me, and this is like from you're gonna, you know, fucking die, you need to get in here right now. He answers the phone, and he's like, oh, hey, Leon. He was like, you're that northeastern drug addict scumbag from fucking New England. And I laughed, and I'm like, you know, mind you, I'm like, dope, I'm not in the greatest shape. I want to fucking die.
Right.
And I laughed, and I'm like, yeah, that's me. And
That's
he's like,
me, bro.
Yeah, that's me, exactly. He's like, oh, you'd be perfect. We'd be glad to have you. And there's another nonprofit, Chucky's Fight. He paid for me for my plane tickets to go out there.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a community act of just like everything happening in the series of events that was just so perfect. And like the way that he had this men's recovery center, it wasn't clinical. It was like it was designed for people that had tried being sober a bunch of times. They did the whole clinical thing that it didn't work for. It was like the philosophy of like kind of less is more. They weren't down my fucking throat being like, you need to make your bed every morning and blah, blah, blah. First day we were at Barton Springs, and in Austin, Texas, girls can just walk around with their tits out and everything, and I'm just like sitting there, dude, like smelling like shit, like the dope sick, and and he was like, oh, she's like, oh, fucking go talk to her. I was like, dude, no, dude, what the fuck? You guys are so stupid, dude. Yeah.
Yesterday I wanted to die. Today there's titties everywhere.
Yeah, you're right, exactly. And I never left New England before in my life.
Yeah.
You know, the closest I've been was like going to Canada, and I went to Niagara Falls once. Was like Eckerd and like Niagara Falls is all I knew.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Small fishbowl. Damn, man, that's a crazy story.
Right.
That's a crazy story. So that was 8 years ago that you went to the treatment center?
Yeah, and I had but they did the thing was is that they did the deal with you while you were there. They were like very tied into like a very close lineage of like, I feel like it's just a different like close to the co-founder of AA that, you know, started this whole thing as far as the message. Because, you know, we sit around in a circle and we play like that game where you're like, you say hot dog, then by the time it gets around, it's like something.
Fucking relish.
Yeah, fucking relish or something. It's like it gets watered down as you know, as it goes around in circulation. So everything that I got from that experience is like with what I needed to hear. So and it was very powerful. It changed the way that I saw myself. You know, it changed me from the inside out. It's the way that I saw myself, the world. I got to uncover a bunch of stuff that I didn't think I was ever going to talk about with, you know, anybody. And yeah, I took that back to New Hampshire, and I just kind of ran with that. And, you know, just from going to, you know, where I was to where I am today, it was all based off that experience, and, you know, continue to have more experiences through, you know, personal development and, you know, working the 12 steps and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So you still work in the 12 steps?
Yeah.
That still works for you. I mean, I feel like some of the best people I know, man, work the steps, and it's amazing what it's been able to do for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
I've lost most of my friends. Like most of the people that I grew up with are dead, strung out, or in prison, or somewhere in between. Like I'm one of very few that.
Worse, yeah.
Yeah, right. And I'm one of very few that made it out alive and doing something well for myself, right?
Yep.
And you know, I've seen some of my closest friends who have made it out and, you know, got introduced to the steps and, you know, are working their recovery. I would have never in a million fucking years thought that they were ever going to like change their life around, you know? And like to see how powerful the steps are, and like to take people like the people I'm thinking about and see where they were and what they were doing, and to see them now is just fucking incredible to me, you know. And you know, it's unfortunately it's a small percentage, and not a lot of people make it out of that lifestyle, you know. And it's crazy, but the people that do have these awesome stories, and they just want to help, and they want to spread the word, they want to get out there and be sponsors, and, you know, help other people that are going through that to get out of that. And being that shining light, I think, takes a shit ton of courage, and to come on and talk about that in front of an audience and out front and be out there about it, I think is admirable, man. And I think it's a big thing. So thanks for at least sharing your story a little bit.
Yeah.
Glad you made it out. Glad you're doing
too,
well
man.
for yourself. You know, it's good. It's good to see, man. There's too many shit stories and horror stories about people, you know, just not being able to do it, you know, and it's, I love it.
Yeah, me too, man. It makes me like emotional, especially because like on a day to day, like sometimes I'll like think about it, but I'm not like engaging in. I don't really get to talk about it too much, like in depth. But it is kind of crazy if like, you know, you look at your family or like the people that you grew up with, and you're like, how the fuck, like, and you just that's like with what it all that's with what it is for me, is when I can kind of like look at it like that and be like, holy shit, man, I'm still alive. Like, this is fucking crazy. I got like, I got fucking solid people around me. Like, I couldn't really ask for more, but then like, something stupid happens. I'm like, fuck that. Like, like human condition.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's kind of crazy, man. Like sometimes like we always look ahead, right? Like we want to be bigger. We want to be more successful. We want to have the house. We want to have the car. We want to, all these different things. And you're always looking ahead, and you compete personally against other people that you see like on the internet or on social media, and you're like, oh man, like I should be there. Sometimes like I take my time, right, when I'm out in the woods typically, and to just think back, like to think about now, right, and to think about the past and kind of where I come from. Like forget looking ahead, like forget thinking about where I want to be. Just looking at fucking now, like holy shit, how the fuck am I here? You know what I mean? Like and I think it's so important to take that time to really kind of look at that and like remember that, not too much time. Like you can't sulk there, because I've tried that too and that don't fucking work, But like to remember and like see like I should have been dead a long time ago,
for sure.
Like, and I'm here, I'm alive, I'm doing this. Like this is good enough. It's good enough today. Tomorrow I want more, but like today it's good enough. This is what I'm living with today, Cool, man. Hell yeah. So let's talk a little bit about future, brother. You're here now. You get the company. You've been going for about a year. Where do you see yourself in 3, 5, 10 years? Like, where do you want to be? How big do you want the company to be? Where do you want to be personally? Like, where are you at? Where do you want to go?
So, honestly, I'd like it to be to where it's like self-sufficient, where, Kenco's branded. They're known as like a top quality service company, calls for all your home needs. We do, whether it be drain cleaning, plumbing services, water heaters, boilers, things like that. And just kind of, step back and, maybe get engaged with some other things. Obviously, like I love sometimes with we talked about this earlier, like sometimes I love just putting in my headphones, going to work and doing with what I can do, and, taking that step back and looking at everything. At the end of the day, but when it's every day, like the grind, doing this 7 days a week, I get kind of like, I'm like, dude, this is fucking so stupid. Like what am I doing? But, I guess I gotta, keep reminding myself that, I want to put myself in the position as to where, we can do like, fulfill certain positions. And right now I'm just trying to train this apprentice to get him to be where he's self-sufficient and can go out and do proper diagnostics, do work on his own, and then hire other, trained professionals that could train somewhere else and they already have their license, and have them go out and, run their own truck and things like that. That's really where I want it to be. And, keep talking to, these financial people, just meet more people, networking, seeing where I could put like, because I can build all this capital with Kenco, but it's like, what do I do with the money after? Because a lot of it's just sitting right now, or it's like just going straight back into the business, and and the capital that I thought that I had has to go to this, and, things like that. So it's still brand new, and I'm still like, I honestly don't. I still don't know with what I'm doing. To be honest, I'm not gonna pretend like I have the know-all. It's just I'm just some idiot that went and started an LLC, and now I'm like learning all this back end stuff.
Well, the difference is you had the balls to do it, man. You had the balls to do it, because it takes balls to jump out on your own and to start your own company, especially with a family at home, man. Like it takes courage, it takes balls to do it, and not everybody has that. And I think that for you, like, strategic planning would probably benefit, talking to a business coach. Business coaches are worth their weight in gold. And whether you're fucking seasoned veteran, 50 years of in business for yourself, or you're a new person starting up, getting somebody's perspective who works with businesses, for businesses, on businesses all day long can be so beneficial. And I have a buddy of mine that is a small business coach. I'll make the introduction after the podcast. His name's Ed. Awesome. And I sat down with him to strategic plan for the podcast.
Cool.
I already had it all figured out. Like I'm an idea generator, right? I hit these flow states and I fucking ideas, right.
Yes.
But I know that I don't have all the answers, man. I don't know what I'm doing half the fucking time. Like, they asked me about a podcast a couple months ago. Like, I wouldn't even know where to fucking start. Right. So like, I have all these ideas and this grand plan, but like sometimes I need to run those ideas by somebody that knows business and understands business to just tell me like, hey, that's a good idea, or that's fucking stupid, Frank. What are you doing? You know,
Right,
so,
yeah.
like,
Yeah,
I just need the outside. Not that I would listen to him, but like,
Well, I'm the same way
a little
too.
stubborn
Yeah.
sometimes, you know,
Right.
but like sitting down with him and just creative brainstorming, and just talking about this is what the vision is, like, this is what we want to do. What I like about Ed is that, he challenges everything that I have. Like, he challenges all of my ideas. You know, this is what I want to do. I want to start this podcast. It's going to be hand forged. It's going to be, you know, the audience will be blue collar, right? And he'll challenge that. Well, are you casting too small of a net? Do you only want to reach blue collar? Do you only want to bring on blue collar guys? You know, and that helps to kind of just, you know, you can say it and do it till you're blue in the face, but when you have somebody that says it back to you, it's almost like, all right, well, that's a good kind of idea. Because my plan was to kind of just like bring on a bunch of trades guys.
Right.
But that's not really the way to do it. Because for me, the purpose of the podcast and one of my purposes of being alive is to inspire, right? And to inspire change. So how can I do that blue collar? How can I do that with the blue collar family? And it's going to be bringing on blue collar guys and other people from different industries that can help blue collar, like, because that is the purpose of the podcast. So, and I didn't really think of that. I guess it was up here, but like it wasn't together yet until I talked to Ed. And then it was like, okay, you know, maybe the audience is blue collar because like a fucking accountant's not going to come on and listen to us talk. Like, he's probably going to be offended.
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
So he'd be like, oh, these drug addicts on here. You know?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But like the audience of the blue collar, like, they get it, you know? So, all right. So that's what I want to reach. How can I keep them engaged? How can I make sure the blue collar is listening and that they're getting good advice and that they're gaining something from this?
Right.
Like, I want people to gain something from this. I want to do good and I want to pursue that purpose and give back, right? Absolutely. So, all right. So instead of just bringing on blue collar guys, maybe I can bring in other industry professionals, like accountants, like lawyers, like business coaches or whatever,
For sure.
that can talk about that. People that have worked with tradespeople, and that way we can kind of bring some people in that can talk intelligently about, you know, building your contract for your business. Like my attorney wants to come on, and like, I can't wait to have him on because we'll be able to talk about like so much legal stuff that all of us are doing wrong.
Absolutely.
That they have worked with before. This is why they think it's important. This is what has happened to make them believe that it's important. They can give a little bit of history and some insight, and everybody can gain from it, you know? And again, like, this kind of boils back, it's a long-winded answer or response, is like bringing in a business coach to like really form those opinions and really narrow it down. Because like for me, I have this broad idea, like, I'm gonna start a podcast, like, it's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah.
You know, and this is my plan, but you know, I don't really figure it all out until I talk to somebody else that's educated and understands what I'm trying to do, and they pitch it back to me. And then I'm like, oh, all right, well, now it makes sense, you know?
For sure.
So sometimes, like I said, I'll make the introduction. He's a real good dude. But yeah, sometimes that business advice is huge as far as like, especially with strategic planning and trying to plan like what you want to do 1, 3, 5, 10 years. Because, you know, I've done quite a bit of that. And there's nothing more gratifying, dude, than like writing that stuff down. Like, I want to start a podcast.
Right.
This is what I have to do in the next 30 days. And then 3 months from now, go back through and cross that stuff out, dude.
Of course.
And it's like, man, I did that shit. This is what I did. You
yeah,
know what
man.
I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, all right, yeah. I got 15 fucking guests. Look at me now. You know, I'm somebody. I got 21 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah, right. But that's the thing, man. I mean, I think that's good. And I feel like people don't think past that wall of like, you know, just going and talking to blue collar people. I mean, you can take it as far as you want. You know, you can target any audience. And I feel like there's some people that have kind of broke that barrier. But I mean, I really haven't seen it to the full effect of, you know, you can be a full on like content creator if you wanted to be.
Right.
And yeah, just have like that Mr. Beast type thing where you're just like, I don't know, like we'll just go blow up a building and see how fast we can like rebuild it or something. You know, things like that. That's where people could be like, you know.
That's badass.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that idea, man. We should do that shit.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, exactly.
I know somebody that can blow some shit up. We'll call them. Be like, hey, we're blowing up a building, man. You in?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the content creation stuff, like, you know, I don't know if I'd ever want to be a full-time content creator. Like, I like creating content. It's fun. And like doing the podcast stuff and getting the shorts and like, you know, and then collaborating and like, you know, it's fun. It's cool. I don't think I could do it full-time, man. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you know, there's money to be made there and there's a lot of people that do it. But like, I know a lot of content creators that do a lot of that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't know if I want to be on my phone that much, man.
Yeah, it's just like anything. I mean, because I like really tried doing the content creation, but then at times I'm just like, I'll be more focused on something else. I'm only fucking one brain, dude. You know, I can't do it all. Sometimes I'm like super just focused on content, and then I veer off, and then I kind of, you know, I stop with the posting every single day.
We got to talk about that too, man, because you got like 27,000 followers on Instagram.
27 on Instagram.
Which I said at breakfast. So for like a design build company, I feel like getting a huge engagement and a big audience is easy because you have this like beautiful, tangible project, like I'm building this custom built house or I'm doing this custom kitchen. You have all this like content that you can really grab some audience with, right?
Right.
As a fucking plumber, man, like, you know, your job's not glorious. No. So like trying to build your following as a plumber or even as an electrician, that's tough to do.
Right.
How the fuck do you end up with 27,000 followers on Instagram?
So, I think there was one video that like, and this sounds so stupid and ridiculous, but there was like
whatever it is, it worked.
And I made it. I recorded myself like installing like a mixing valve on a water heater or something, and I put like a it was like a trending audio at the time where it's like, yo, you know, you hold the share button and you can see your top 3 friends. For some reason, that did really well, and that was like the kind of the beginning of when it started to pick up, where I went from like, you know, grinding out like, you know, couple hundred followers to where like I got over 1,000. Then it started to like go up like by hundreds each day. But then when you start posting, like that engagement goes down. So, I mean, a lot of it was just like, you know, using that trending audio. I know that sounds ridiculous because you're not really providing anybody, like, I don't even know if that's followers that I want. But, you know, I have had, you know, there was one where I did no hashtags or anything. It was actually the first video that I did with the apprentice that works with me, where I just took my phone out and I'm like, you know, this is Aiden, which he's the real life, everybody knows him as the real life apprentice on Instagram and social media. And I'm just like, you know, do you have any, like, this is Aiden. We just went out and I was like super like pumped about it because I thought this was the kid. Yeah. I mean, he might be, but I don't know. But
that's the kid you're talking about with a ton of followers who's an apprentice?
No, that was this other kid, Replum, that, you know, he's just like, with his content, I think it's just like he created like this whole, he like branded himself as to where, you know, he's like the kid that you go on. He does like residential plumbing services. I think he works for someone different now. So you actually see like more of like a new construction type plumbing with him now. But a lot of it was like, you know, he'd be like changing like an outdoor faucet or something. And, you know, he does like this, he like takes like, cause I mentioned like the bad engagement where, you know, I'll like screw something in wrong or I'll do something, and then like the whole people like they all come out of the woodwork and be like, you're a hack, you don't know what you're doing. And I think, you know, he took that, you know, from a lot of people commenting on his videos, and he like made it into like this whole like voice that he does. He's like, oh, you didn't do this, and he does like this voice, and it does really, really well, you know, and that's what he's branded as. That, you know, it's just like, people come and watch for certain things, you know, they like something about your video, whether it's entertaining, and, you know, and you can do ASMR. That's another thing that we're like, it's just like, I'll like cut a piece of PVC and like ream out like a hub or something just because of the sound of it. I don't know. That like got a bunch of followers too off stuff like that. But like I was saying, when I start interacting and like maybe post stuff about like my recovery or something, or like just try to provide value on like what the trades can do, that also, you know, does well. My wife's been telling me we should do like a day in the life on like, you know, TikTok, and then, you know, put it on Instagram and stuff too. Yeah. You know, but I'm like, yeah, but then I'm like, I don't want to fucking do that, which I do, but it's like, you know, you understand when you're under the gun, just going out and trying to, you know.
Yeah, it's hard. Well, and that's the thing, is it's hard for someone like you who you're sole proprietor, like working by yourself all day, to like, and you're trying to get a job done for a client. So like trying to create content while you're under the stress of like getting this shit done, like that's got to be such a nightmare. Like, you know, we were doing kitchens. Like I had a couple of guys working for me, and I could have been doing it then, but even then I was like, I had no place for it in my mind. Like and maybe it's my own fault. Like I get hyper focused on like, this is the job that's got to get done. Like
for sure,
everything else is just background noise. So to like, you know, think about creating content during those times, like I'm not fucking thinking about it, man. I'm just trying to get the job done. You know, but it's like, There's got to be like this balance there somehow of like creating good content, getting the content out there, and still doing your damn job. You know,
Right. The
It's
only
hard.
time like it ever like really actually goes well is when I like actually have it like pre-planned and have like the same camera angle, and I can devote the time to doing the recording. Then I'll like edit it obviously when I get home or whatever. But yeah.
Do you think you get work from that? Because I mean, it's not exactly like advertising to end consumer. It's marketing, it's brand
Right.
awareness, that type of stuff. Like, but do you get business from that from Instagram?
I've only had like a couple people call and be like, oh, we've seen you on Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm not like trying to promote my business, I guess. I don't know. I just maybe that because that's what I started the Instagram for, was to be like, you go with like a social media company and they're like, you need to post this, and then you go and look. It's like, no one gives a fuck about your picture, about your AC unit and the condenser outside
Right.
that says, oh, I need free estimate.
Yeah, yeah.
No, like, no, go fuck yourself. No one's looking at that,
Right.
dude. You need like engaging good content. That's
Yeah.
what I mean. You got to spend the time with doing it. And I'm still trying to, find my way. But maybe I'll just stop, posting content. But I do enjoy doing it,
Yeah.
And even if you are like, you won't even know with what you get on camera. Like I did like this stupid one where like this kid that I know, he started like a clothing like brand or whatever, and I bought some T-shirts off of him because I like the kid. So I went and I bought his T-shirts, and then like I made like a free video for him where I was just like put the T-shirt on, and I put like a Darth Vader mask, and I went to like do like a shower valve on it, and I installed it upside down, and then I was like, oh, I don't want anyone to see that. So like months later, I took like that same piece of content after like I was just like, because I'll scroll and I'll just like I'll start thinking about
Good
like I can
ideas.
recycle content from stuff I did a year ago, and
Yeah.
it's like I just used like a trending audio as to where it was like cohesive with the audio, where it's like, have you ever like installed a shower valve upside down? And then that started a whole thing with this other content creator where we ended up having to go on live together, and he's like, you can't fucking see past the driveway, which means it's like that's like a term that he uses in to plumbing content creators, as to where we're just showing off tools in the driveway, we don't really do anything in the field. And my wife actually reached out to him. She's like, oh, he did that for a video that was in our own house, because he was saying you're here fucking everything up in the customer's house with a fucking Darth Vader mask on like
Oh,
an idiot.
Jesus.
Yeah, and I'm like, bro, it's like, this is in my bathroom, dude. And it was just like a video that I made for
Just
somebody.
funny, right.
Yeah, just funny.
Yeah, it's funny because we were talking about the trolls and stuff and like people giving you shit, but those people are good. Those
Yeah.
people are good for the engagement as long as you can be level-headed about it.
Yeah.
I feel like I might have a hard time with that.
But, he was a good guy, too, because I looked past that. I'm like, okay, I told him, I was like, I see what you're doing. You're, like, going on these, people that are going viral. I'm just, like, I'd say, like, I'm not, like, one of the bigger there's a lot bigger content creators that do plumbing. So he would go into those people's comments, and then he'd get the reaction. So he was starting to gain traction of just being, like, that online
shit
villain.
talker,
Yeah,
yeah.
just a shit talker. So I told him, I messaged him, I'm like, dude, I see what you're doing. It's fun. I was like, this was at my own house. I did it just exactly for with what you're doing right now. That's why I posted it, to get like the reaction from you. And I was like, we can have like a fake feud online if you want. He's like, no, I don't want to do that. So it's like some older guy too.
Yeah. I
That's
would have been
actually
like, bro, why don't you just roll up? Come up. Let's,
Yeah,
let's have a
right.
conversation.
He's in fucking Canada, dude.
I'll roll up to Canada.
Yeah, right. Yeah, bro.
You want to talk
Go
shit,
to
bro? Let's go.
Toronto. Yeah.
I've never been to Canada, but I'll come up and beat your ass up there with the polar bear.
Yeah, let's meet at fucking Eckerd, bro.
Yeah, halfway. Let's take your damn shoes.
Yeah, right. Oh shit.
Cool, man. So that's good. We went through some goals and stuff. I mean, obviously you want to grow the company. You want to bring in some kind of, other talent, bring in some other plumbers. You're looking for a plumber now. You want to
Yeah.
kind of grow that way. I'll put you in touch with the business planner, and
Thank you.
it'll be a good conversation to have with him.
Right.
Kind of help you get to that point. What do you think right now, like, your challenges? What are the current challenges for you, and kind of what are you doing to manage those challenges?
So it's right now, because of how things are so busy, we do need another plumber that we can dispatch certain things to and delegate tasks to.
Talent acquisition, man.
Yes,
Fucking name of the game in trades.
exactly.
It's hard to find good work.
It is very, very hard. And we've done like a couple different posts, but we need to, come up and strategize on how, we can tackle that and, target, a potential plumber that can come on and work for us or with us. Because that's the whole thing too, is like I want it to be like culture based. I don't want it to be, I want it to be culture based on, with what we believe in and kind of, the way I operate with things. And and it takes away from Aiden too, because I'm just trying to go in and, obviously do the job right, but we're trying to get on to the next one at the same time.
Right.
So it takes away from his training. And
it's the same as like content creating.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
you want to go in, you got to get this job done.
Right.
Same thing, like in training, like you have the job, it has to get done, but you also have to train this kid, but the job's got to get done.
Right.
So it's like,
Yeah, it sucks, man.
Yeah. Tyler, I feel like is in the same boat, man. Like, just kind of threw him in the fire.
Right, yeah.
Like, this is what I need done. Figure it out.
Yeah, wait till you set the tripod up and you forget to hit record.
Yeah.
And you walk back after fucking jobs are.
Shit.
Yeah, the one part you thought you were recording the whole time.
Dude,
Yeah,
I'll tell
right.
you the story right now. I did this video in the showroom once. Like, we were putting legs in like an apron on our island in the showroom. And I have my, Ty, what's that thing called? The little tripod thing that I got? The gimbal.
The gimbal's sick, dude.
I have a gimbal, right?
Yeah.
I actually bought it to record my kids in sports, but it never worked out for that. So I was using it for my own video. And every time I pressed record, I was actually pressing stop. And every time I pressed stop, I was actually pressing record. I spent all day doing this island, dude. I go back to look at all the fucking stuff. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I've done that before. Yeah.
I was like, God damn it, man. I suck at this.
Right.
Came out sick, but like nobody's going to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sucks. I feel like that challenge, man, trying to find good help is so hard for everyone. And I told you, I have a friend that has a company called 17 Hands that does talent acquisition. I'll make that intro too. You can kind of talk to her and see what they provide. I don't know how well they do with the trades, but I feel like the way that they're set up, I feel like they do more good than harm as far as trying to find you help. And like I was telling you at our meeting that like they just kind of help to filter out all the bullshit. Hiring's a process in itself, and again, trying to do that while you're trying to get jobs done is just physically impossible.
Right.
I was doing interviews when I was doing the installs. Like I'd have them come to the job site.
That's exactly
like,
shit like that.
Hey, listen, man, I don't have the time to sit in an office and have this interview. We're on this job site today. Come on out.
Sure.
It is what it is. Maybe it's not the most professional thing, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. Cool, man. So that's good. I guess last thing, bro. Last thing is my favorite thing. Were you gonna give them just the tip?
Just the tip.
Toolbox tips, bro. So what would you give another trades guy, maybe even with the same background as you, same history as you, or someone trying to figure out what they want to do, is considering the trades? Like, what would you tell that person, man? What would you tell a 10-year you or 10 years ago you?
I would say, obviously getting into the trades, this isn't for just anybody. You gotta sort of be built for it. So, I mean, I just want to say that right off. It is very, very hard on your body. It's not for everybody. I can't just take anybody and just make them a plumber. You gotta be kind of built for this, whatever that looks like for the person. For me, it was, it is very strenuous on your body, especially if you go hard with it, But I will say, I'd rather get this out of the way now, and then maybe 5 years from now, I won't be putting all that hurt on my body, and I can, because I'm doing like chiropractic treatment and, physical therapy and stuff like that right now. And people don't believe that, when I talk to someone older than me, they're like, oh, you're too young for that. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm sorry, I'm doing this now. It's like, so I don't have to do it, whenever. So, yeah.
It's not the age, it's the miles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what I tell everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and if it is something that you want to get into, like I said before, it's not that hard to outwork, the next apprentice or the next guy that's sitting next to you. if you do have somebody, that's next to you, that's, feed off that for sure. If you're in that environment, surround yourself with that other apprentice that is willing to stay late and go the extra mile. Obviously don't be separate, oh, I want to be separate from you. It's just but if you are seeing those people that are going for lunch break, not being honest, and, taking that extra hour because no one's around to see you, it's no, fuck that. Don't do that. Go back, do, the tasks that you were given for the day and go above and beyond. Do extra if you can with whatever you can to, make that, so you could be a better asset, for your company and play that position. I know that it sucks. The apprenticeship isn't easy. It can be fun at times. But, there's been plenty of times where I'm dude, I cannot wait till I get my license. I cannot wait till I, get over this, because that was another thing that was holding me back. And, you just got to, I guess, play your position until you're able to, do with what you want. There's really no, ceiling to this. And that was my experience. And I'm still, continuing to grow with this trade after, stop working for somebody, and things like that. And, do all the proper training, make sure that you're with a good company. And I think a good company is going to have, somebody that's going to train, be able to train you. So I've just kind of contradicted myself and call myself a bad company because I don't have enough time to train him. But make sure you're getting proper training and, not only in the field, but, getting someone that's going to, reimburse you for schooling.
Yeah.
In New Hampshire, you got to do so many hours for gas, and then the plumbing apprenticeships, 4 years.
Yeah. And a lot of companies will pay for that.
Absolutely, yes.
Why wouldn't you as a company? I feel like I would too.
It's an investment for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, because, and then that's just another push for somebody to get into the trade, that somebody will pay for your schooling. I feel like that's important.
Yep.
And it's a good incentive for a company, especially when you're talking about acquiring talent. The more you can give, the more you get back, as long as you're picking the right people.
Yeah.
But I like your advice, man, as far as being kind of the best apprentice,
Sure.
And I think that the hard part about that is that you're not going to be the cool one, man.
No.
You're going to be the one they're going to talk shit. They're going to think that you think you're better than everybody.
Exactly.
And it's a hard position to be in, but it's better to be the wolf than the sheep.
That's another side to it as to why it's not for everybody. And I feel like, people are why the fuck aren't young people getting into the trades? It's dude, because you got this dude that's been drinking for 50 years. His wife fucking banged someone else 10 years ago, dude. His dad beat him growing up, whatever it is, and he never got to work that out.
Yeah.
So he's going to take that out on the apprentice,
Oh, yeah.
It's never talked about. So it's
Yeah.
And that's another thing for companies too. Fuck that guy that's doing all that. Fucking get rid of him.
Yeah.
But I understand people are backs up against the wall.
Yeah.
He's needed.
And you can't find help. That guy's the only guy.
Yeah.
That's one thing. You definitely have to have thick skin to be in the trades.
Yeah.
The guy that started me in furniture was a savage. Guy was a badass. And he was not an easy person to work for. And sometimes I see these younger kids and I'm like, dude, this kid would not last 2 minutes with this dude.
No.
And I was a hard ass and I dealt with it, but I don't know. He was a hard ass, but I needed that, dude. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I needed that. I never had that. So I needed somebody. I needed male authority that I respected. Because I never had that growing up, So it was very hard for me it was very hard to earn my respect. I don't care who you were, how old you were, where you're from, any of that stuff,
For sure.
So having that and, having that mentor was huge for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I guess, obviously surround yourself with that person, whoever's mentoring you. I've had a couple master plumbers that I worked under that all taught me different things. But again, if you got to be built for, going into the trade and yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Cool, man. Well, that's it then. That's a wrap. You believe it's been almost an hour or probably an hour or somewhere around there?
Yeah, no, that was good.
Yeah, man. I thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you for
awesome
having me.
sharing your story. It's cool. Hopefully we get to do some business together, and I'll hook you up with a couple people. And then if you could hook me up with that dude that we talked about early on.
Yeah, I will.
I'd love to get involved in that.
Yeah, I'd love to come back on too with I'll schedule when Zach is going to come out to New Hampshire, and maybe I'll come. Maybe just do it. We'll do a podcast with him or both of us.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
That'd be sick. Yeah.
Yeah, he reached out to me already, so it'd be cool to have him on.
Awesome.
He'll be like the furthest person away that's come on. So
yeah.
makes me look way cooler.
Yeah, right, for sure.
I'm like, this guy's from like Oklahoma wants to come on this
yeah,
podcast.
right. And he's
Look
gonna
how
feel the
fucking cool
same.
we are.
Yeah, he's got a big fucking ego. He's like, I fucking drove out. Yeah, I got flown out to do the podcast. Yeah.
I'm gonna pay
That's
him to
just
lie
kidding.
too.
Yeah, for sure.
But Frank put me up in a hotel. He paid for my rental. He paid for my airfare.
Yeah.
Cool, man. All right, well, it's been a lot of fun, brother. I appreciate you coming on.
Fuck yeah, bro.
And yeah, so tomorrow we got Lisa D'Antonio coming on from Green Park Studio. She's an interior designer. She'll be able to get some good insight for us trades guys on kind of how she works with trades and what she does and kind of what she's been able to do. She has a bunch of like patent pending, bunch of little knick-knack things that she does for design, which is pretty cool. I'm looking forward to talking to her tomorrow. But thanks for being here.